Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria, and I'm joined by my best friend and co host.
Neosha.
And today we're reviewing Love is Blind season 9. We're going to do episodes 1 through 4. So if you've
Mhm.
been watching, or if you haven't been watching and just want to hear what's going on, make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and meet us in the comments to share your thoughts. All
Mhm.
right. So let's just start with our first impressions of this season.
You go first.
I It wasn't as enjoyable. First of all, we've said this several times. We think we in the US need to follow the UK model where it's 4 episodes that drop the first week and you can already see like who's meshing with whom.
Hmm.
So there's that. And then this season I felt like there were a lot of fake love triangles, meaning I might have Miyosha down as my top choice, and I really
Hmm.
like her, but then Miyosha has someone else as her top choice, and she really likes them. And so there was a lot of that going on. So it was hard to root for a lot of the couples because you didn't know if, this person who's all in on their top choice is even going to get picked. So it was a little
Okay.
hard to get into for that reason
I
for
can
me.
see that. I think for me, it's not as enjoyable this season because I think some of these pairings,
Mhm.
I'm not seeing why they're choosing each other. So it feels like there's a lot of time being spent on
Mhm.
developing some of these triangles. But even when someone is like, oh, this is my first choice,
Mhm.
I'm not seeing why this is your first choice. I wish they would just
Yeah.
get to, hey, these are the people that are really interested in each other
Mhm.
and show more of their development and their dates so that
Yeah.
maybe we could feel more invested or maybe it would feel it's more believable as to why this is your first choice.
Yeah, because we were meeting some people on their second date, so we don't know what even made them pick each other on the first date.
Exactly. I was so confused. Initially, we would do like, oh, our first impressions, but then I would get to writing notes and I'm like, wait, I have not seen these two together. I don't know what the first impression is because clearly
Mhm.
they've already been talking. And
Mhm.
then,
Mhm.
not to jump ahead, but we see some people fall off. And I think I don't know, if there's a lot of time spent on them and it
Yeah.
just, that we don't see it through, I don't know, maybe it's just the satisfaction isn't there for me.
And then you're dreading the fact that you have 6 episodes to get through. Like, come on, we got to do better. Maybe if we keep saying this in our reviews, they'll do like Married at First Sight, which, by the way, is coming back
Mm.
on October 23rd on
Mhm.
Peacock this time. And they're dropping several episodes as once. So, at once. So, I am looking forward to this season and seeing how it plays out.
Mm. Yeah.
I think we might like it better. It'll be shorter for sure. We won't be spending
Mhm.
4 months on a season of Married at First Sight. But
And I think with Married at First Sight, I don't even know it's the full length of time that gets us. It's the amount of time on the weddings, the dress shopping. Too
yes,
much time is allocated in the wrong
Bachelorette.
place. Yeah,
Yeah.
we don't care. Get past all that. So we shall see.
Take us to the altar. There we go. Start us there. But maybe they're doing that this
Mhm.
season. So anyway, we'll see. That's a Love is Blind.
Okay.
So I think the first couple I have down is Casey, who is 32 and a makeup artist, and Patrick, who is 30 and a construction manager. Let me find their
Okay.
pictures while
Yeah.
you talk.
Yeah, so we have Casey. My initial thoughts on her, she shares, that she dated her high school sweetheart on and off for about 10 years. And she says that she's never not been cheated on. Once again, and a few other
Why you
women have
telling
done
him?
that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's Patrick, yeah, on screen.
Mhm.
A few other women have done that where it's like, I understand we've all been through things, but out of the gate, do we really need to know you've never not been cheated on? And
Mhm.
then Patrick, one of my first impressions of him is that he seems a bit nervous in this process,
Yeah.
coming in as an Asian American man, being in Denver and what his dating experience has already been like. So,
Mhm. Yeah. But one positive from their first interaction that we saw was that they both like basketball. Her sister sings in Korea. I think he might have mentioned something about Asia.
mhm.
And then she talked about how she's really into traveling. She grew up Mormon. And he said, well, I, can work from wherever. So I have the flexibility to travel. And perhaps if they end up together, they'll go to Colombia.
Yeah, we shall see. One more thing about Casey, and it's
Hmm.
a small thing, but it's something a hint that she dropped about herself that I wish she wouldn't have
Mm.
so early on. She describes her sister as this cute little blonde girl who sings in Korean. Well,
Mhm.
if we could put two and two together, that would already from the gate let him know that you're a white woman. So
Mm.
that's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair, fair. And then we have Patrick again, but this time he
Mhm.
is with Anna, who is 27, and she is a hairstylist.
Yes. And so initial thoughts on Anna. She says that she likes to joke a lot.
Mhm.
She herself is an Asian woman as well. And in this first date, I think they don't say that they're both Asian, but she says that she speaks another language. He says that he speaks another language.
Mhm.
So they're able to put the pieces together on both of them having a background from outside of the US.
Mhm.
uh, Another initial takeaway of Anna is that she describes herself as dating all types of men. I think he asked her, like, oh, who do you usually date? But then she says she's only dated white men. And I'm thinking, well, what does that mean if you've
Maybe she
dated?
meant all types of like, oh, like the jock or the nerd
Oh,
or
okay.
the, I don't know,
The
other high
different
school
types.
stereotypes. Yeah, maybe that's what she meant. But yeah, they both talked about the lack of diversity in Denver and then talked
Hmm.
about how, well, that's why I've only dated white guys. But I feel like if you were a white person, you maybe wouldn't start talking about the lack of diversity. So I thought that was something that gave it away. And then, I mean, like I believe Asians are the group that marry outside of their race more than any others within the U.S.,
Mm.
like
Okay.
statistically. And so I thought like it wouldn't have been hard for them to maybe draw that they were both Asian
Okay.
from
Okay.
conversation from the type of conversation they were having about like lack of diversity. Like
Mm.
I don't know that a white person would go in and be like, "Oh, I've only dated white guys because of the lack of diversity." They would just say, yeah, I've dated,
Yeah.
right? Or it might not even come up, but
Yeah.
maybe that's just me. You guys let me know in the comments what you think.
Okay. And then we want to add in Blake, who is Anna's other connection.
Okay, I just had one thing. I think
Oh,
with Patrick and Anna, I think he mentioned something about keeping his father's last name as his middle name, but I don't know that he revealed what his last name was yet in
I
this.
don't think he did yet.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. All right,
Yeah.
yeah. So we do want to add Blake, who is 32 and an accountant. In
Yes.
this, I started to feel like Anna had a really cute personality. Like I enjoyed her on my screen, and I
I
can't say that
agree.
for all the people this season or any season. I mean, there's always at least one, but
Yeah.
I enjoyed her personality. I'll let you go while I pull up his picture.
Yeah. And so Blake says that he's been focusing most of his 20s into his 30s on his career, and most of his friends are settling down. And he says that he's finally ready to find his person as well. Um,
Mhm.
on his date with Anna, I get from him that he's enjoying the vibe, but
Mhm.
I think from her perspective, she's really feeling him. I haven't
Mhm.
quite gotten that from his side. You?
Mm. Yeah, I didn't get that from him either. I think he's feeling her out, trying to get to know her. They did have that conversation about religion, so neither one of them was religious, and I
Mhm.
think that maybe in the pods, once you have something in common with the other person, you start to really hold on to it. That was the sense I got from
Mm.
at least Anna, that she was like, okay, that he checks off this box. Um, and she
Okay.
said she said something like, "You don't sound homophobic or racist."
Girl, in these times,
How
you
do
got to
you
give it more time.
how do you not sound? I don't understand. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
speaking of Blake, he has another connection,
Mm-hmm.
and that is Sparkle Megan, who is 33 years old, and she says her friends call her Sparkle Megan. And I'm like, do your friends call you that? Or do you make your friends call you that? Because you are just so hell bent on this being your identity. And so I thought it was funny. I'm like, you like being called that.
I was fine with her describing herself that the first time, but unfortunately for her, they're showing her initial interactions of all of her first dates. So we had to hear it so many times. So
Yeah.
she says at this point she feels like she's single because men are intimidated by her. She shares that, she's really into her career. She struck luck. She sold her company and made a lot of money and has been able to have a lot of flexibility. And my initial thoughts are for someone to say, like, oh, when people hear about my money, they may want me for my money. You out of the gate let us know that, oh, you've come into a lot of money. You're doing very well. You have all the flexibility. You
Hmm.
just spill all the tea on your lifestyle. So I'm already getting contradiction from her out of the
Hmm.
gate with her first
Yeah,
date.
like how people, like, it's negative when people bring it up, but now you almost assume that as your identity. The thing with her was I didn't know at this point, but I was like, I wonder if she leads with that often, like leads with her money and
Hmm.
her success. And I wonder if she's almost expecting men to be intimidated, so she's looking for it. Or, if men are actually intimidated, which I think is very much a possibility, for a
Hmm.
successful woman to have men who either want to humble her or be intimidated. So yeah, I was just wondering which one it was. Like, does she project that, or is that really the case? Also, and I'll
Hmm.
maybe I'll say this later.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Okay.
those are my initial thoughts about her.
And I think she shared in this initial date, and maybe it could have been her one with Mike if I'm jumping ahead, but
Okay.
she also says that she's a perfectionist, and that she would describe herself as a boss. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. At this point, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt in
Mm-hmm.
understanding, but I'm on high alert moving forward.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
But I did like her interaction with Blake. So they both talked about how they were huge into their careers during their 20s and now they're wanting to focus on relationships. Like Blake mentioned that in his date with Anna as well, how his grandma is like, yeah, I think it's about time for you to try to settle down.
Hmm.
And they're both interested in kids and wanting to find their co-parent. And so I started to like Blake and her. I started to like Blake for her. I think his
Hmm.
subtlety helped him a lot. Like he was the front runner for her for me. Not that I thought they would end up together, but I'm like
Okay.
out of the people who she talked to, initially I thought he might be the best match.
Okay. So she says that he's her number one after this date. And I
Mm.
wrote, I'm not seeing why.
Hmm.
At
Yeah.
this point, I was almost kind of surprised.
Yeah, I think for me it was in contrast to the others. So not on its
Mm,
own, but in
okay.
contrast to the others. Because I have a note here that I'm pretty sure I wrote after their second date, and that was after we had seen her with other people. I said
Hmm.
I like his subtlety a lot, and I think that helps him, that makes him stand out. I don't think the other
Okay.
two people she was talking to were very subtle, and I thought they had very, well, we'll talk about them. But yeah,
Okay.
and they were talking about parenting very intentionally. So in their
Hmm.
second date, they talked about the mistakes that their parents had made that they wouldn't want to repeat. And so their conversation seemed to have some depth there. They
Okay.
talked about their parents being conflict avoidant and both of their
Hmm.
dads passing away. So yeah, and I thinking about Sparkle Megan, I was like, Blake is an accountant, so he does well for himself, I'm sure. But I don't know
Hmm.
if he does Megan level of well for himself. And so that was
Right.
something that I was considering. But again, in comparison to the other two people, I thought his career might have been the best match.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about Megan's other matches.
Who do you want to go to?
Let's start with Mike. So Mike is 37 and he is a real estate investor. Now keep in mind that Megan is 33 and a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So my initial impressions of Mike is he comes across as pretty confident, flirty. He immediately describes himself as sexy Mike. Um,
Yeah. When
and
she
I
says
learned,
Sparkle Megan, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And so I initially thought, based off of his vibe alone, he was going to reel her in.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The
I knew
confident.
he I knew he would be a contender for her because I think she also said that she was used to dating older men. And
Hmm.
so I think when she heard his age, eventually, I was like, oh, yeah, I can see him reeling her in.
Yeah.
Because there are certain things I think people just automatically assume with age. So, like, he described himself as a real estate investor, right? But with his age, plus his age, I think that would give him some credibility for her
Yeah.
of being successful. So,
And how long he's been doing it. I think he said the year that he first bought a home and then that he
mhm.
buys one house each year. And so that, you could do the math. It's been about 10
Mhm.
years, so maybe 10 homes. Because I think he said 2015. Maybe this was filmed last year. So 9 years.
Mhm.
Um, okay. I said at this point, I don't know if this is the right place for Megan to find somebody. So she sold the business that she had. I don't remember if that was the medically driven tech enabled health club or if that's the one that she's trying to get off the ground now. But
I thought it was the one she was trying to get off the ground now.
okay, so she
Yeah.
sold one, and then this one seems innovative enough that it probably will do
Mhm.
well. But with Love is Blind, you're running across some pretty regular guys, and I was wondering if, like, depending on how well off she is financially, if she's gonna keep running into guys who are intimidated because she's not dating, I don't know, within her tax bracket.
And we find out later some information about a guy that she did date before. And I
Mhm.
thought, I don't know
Why
if
were
love
you
is
even
blind is it.
there?
Yeah, like you might need to go be with the millionaire matchmaker instead of on Love is Blind.
Yes, I just wondered if, and I get it. People want to. I feel like there's a balance when you're dating of being open to people who aren't exactly what you want because you might find a gem there, but then also casting the net so wide that you're just pulling in everybody. And so for me, I was like, I don't know if she would benefit from maybe something that's a narrower dating pool. Like maybe she needs to.
Well, as she described it, she would date guys who were much older or
Mhm.
older. And then she tried dating guys who were much younger. She claimed they didn't have their ish together. And
Mhm.
so maybe in her mind, taking this route was the middle ground. But for me, the middle ground would be maybe you just date someone your
Around her
age.
age. Like Mike is only 4 years older than her, so he's
Hmm.
not technically an older guy. He's in
Yeah,
her
he's within
crowd.
her age group. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
would
if
think.
you're swinging from dating someone who's
Super.
26,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, they don't have their ish together. Well, girl, they're 26.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So in her conversation with Mike, she talked about wanting a man who is a provider and wanting more traditional gender roles. And so, just for context, that is why I said I'm not sure if this is where she should be.
Right. In this process, are you realistically going to be able to find the provider for you? But it also sounds like she wasn't trying to give up her career at the same
Yeah.
time. So she wants these traditional values also while maintaining her career and the
Mhm.
flexibility and all the things. And I
Yeah.
think it was in their second date. Um, she said she was drawn to him and feels like they could build an empire together. So.
Yeah. What's interesting is when she talked about the traditional gender roles, I think he tried to push it a little bit, like where he's like, "Oh, would you do something?" And she said, "Yeah, I don't mind doing that." He's like, "Okay, well then, you know, you'd have my meals ready, or he said some type of joke like
Hmm.
that. And maybe it's just me. I could be reading too much into it. But it felt to me like he was trying to see how far he could take her with the traditional role, you know? But
Oh yeah,
not in a, oh, I just, hmm
I think he mentioned something about cooking.
hmm
Then maybe it was like, oh, well, we could order out, or maybe we could hire someone to do it, or I don't know.
It
I
was
think it was.
something, but it wasn't until after she said, "Okay, watch it," that he said
Mhm.
the other part. So I don't know. I didn't get the best first impression of Mike. I thought he was a little pompous.
So I'll say I don't know if I got the best or the worst, but I got these two have something in common. They like talking about their money and what they have. And
Mm,
so, you know, how he shares, like, oh, well, I have a hot tub and sauna at my place or whatever. So I
yeah.
got, oh, these two vibe on maybe material things and what they have. And
hmm
maybe that's what could work for them. I don't know.
Yeah, he definitely leads with money. He definitely leads with money. And with the cooking thing, even I think even if she is open to like, cooking in the traditional
Mhm.
roles, it's one thing for you to offer that up and say, "Hey, I want to cook for you," and all those things. It's another thing to have somebody almost demand it of you. And so I think that was why she said, well, I don't know why she said watch it, but I'm assuming that's why. Like,
Mhm.
it's the difference between, oh, I'm gonna cook for this guy on this date, versus the guy being like, so do you cook? Like,
Right.
hold
Well,
on.
you got all this money, hire a caterer.
Anyway, so yeah, they both lead with accomplishments.
Yeah.
Which is that.
Okay.
All right, so Megan's last match is, or
Mhm.
potential match, is Jordan, who is 4 years younger than her, so he's 29, and he is a branch service manager.
Yes. And so my initial thoughts on Jordan is, you know, he shares that he's a single dad.
Mhm.
His son is 5 years old, at least at the time of this. Um, and, you know, he's looking, I guess, for a fresh start and someone that he can incorporate into his life with his son.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, when people come on here and they have kids, I'm always like, wow, that is such a huge risk. I mean, it's always a risk, but you choose love is blind to potentially find a person that would not just be in your life, but a
Your
child's
child's
life.
life. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
they have about 2 months to figure it out. So
Mm,
technically,
yeah.
she won't have to meet the child yet. But he, in their conversation, or the first one we see, they talk about cars. And she's like, I'm not even going to
Oh,
share
yeah.
what car. I'm not even going to
Here
share
she
what
go
car I
again.
drive. Girl, why bring it up?
And here's where we get you know, a difference in them. He maybe likes some material things, but maybe not to the level in which she likes them or is able to provide for herself. And
Yes.
so,
He said he has a Kia, and her
mm,
car, we gathered, is something very
mm,
fancy. And he starts to,
exotic or
yes, like,
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exotic. Uh, we also get that he's had a vasectomy, so he's
Yes,
starting
which
with
I was
that.
surprised because when I was doing the math, I said, okay, well, if your son is 5, you're 29. So at 24, 25, you, or maybe it was within the last 2 years, who knows? But in my mind, I thought, like, oh, wow, that's a pretty significant decision to make within your 20s. It is reversible, but there is a chance that it isn't.
A child will do that to you.
That or a bad relationship and you're still tied
True.
to a
You're like,
person with a
I'm not
child.
trusting anybody else. I'm gonna handle this myself.
So he
But
does share this with her, maybe in the second date that they had?
I thought it was the first one. I don't
Or was it first?
remember.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It was the first one.
Okay.
Uh, because I think they started after this, like they went to the
Mhm.
pods, and I think he started dropping names. But honestly, Miosha, after their first date, I wrote down, I hope they stop here and don't date again.
Absolutely. I don't even understand why these two followed up with a second or third date. Not that the vasectomy couldn't be reversed or anything like that, but that is something to keep in mind. Nothing
Yeah.
about her initially gave that she would be interested maybe in being
A
a
stepmother.
stepmom out of the gate. Um, his career, for her to express in one date with Mike that she was looking for a provider or someone who'd be open to it, nothing about her gives that she would be willing to adjust her lifestyle so Jordan could provide for her. So I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't even understand why these two followed up. But then we hear that his son has type 1 diabetes.
Hmm.
There's a connection there for her. Her dad unfortunately had it as well. Sounds
Hmm.
as though he may have passed from some complications with it. And so I don't know. You know how, like, sometimes the more you find out, you're like, oh, we have this in common. Maybe
Yeah.
there's a reason or a connection. I wrote, oh, she's going to follow up with this guy.
But after their second date, she says she doesn't see their lives aligning. And I
Mm.
agree. And I said she needs to tell him that because he starts to like her. I, you know,
She doesn't see their lives aligning, but she's following up because of the juxtaposition. Like, here's this guy maybe of humbler means, but maybe there's a reason why I'm supposed to be in his life and I have some things in common with him. Versus Mike, she describes as the guys she would typically go for. So I
hmm.
think he's not Jordan isn't the right match, but in her mind she's like, oh, the other choice may be the right choice, and it's like, no, it could be no choice.
And okay, so now that we've talked about all three of them, this is why for me, I thought Blake was a happy medium
Mm,
because she had talked about, the guys she dated previously who were like Mike and maybe like the arrogance that came from, being with them. Like later on, she reveals that she dated an almost billionaire and, there was
mhm,
just a level of arrogance that existed there that didn't work well with her. But when she's dated the younger guys who haven't had their stuff together, which I'm sure Jordan does fine for himself, right, as a branch
mhm.
service manager, it's just that it seems like there's such a large gap between what he makes and what she makes. And I think that could potentially be an issue, right? If there are financial issues with couples who are within the same tax bracket that lead to divorce, I'm sure that this could be an issue with them. For me, I thought Blake was someone who has a very steady career. I mean, accountants are
Mhm.
very,
Yep.
like, it's just a steady job. So he has a good career and he might not be as lavish as Hot Tub Mike, but
Mhm.
he's potentially doing better financially than Jordan. He is a little bit older than Jordan. Maybe he's like 30, 31,
Mhm.
32 in
She's
there,
32, yeah.
32. So closer to her age. And they were talking about the important things very soon. So that was why. I'm like, if there
Mhm.
is one choice, which I don't think any of them were like the perfect match.
Yeah, I say it's no choice at this point for her.
Okay,
None.
fair,
Zero.
fair. Okay. All right. So moving on from Megan, whew, we
Okay.
have Alini or Allie and Anton. So Alini is 27, she's a nurse, and Anton is 28. He's in transportation logistics.
Right.
I'll
And
pull up their
so,
pictures.
initial thoughts on Allie. She says
Hmm.
she's single. She just hasn't found someone to match her ambition. She says she is soft, but sometimes presents in a harder way. And that may be, what's keeping people away from her or building that connection. Anton, I don't know. I'm getting he's trying to be smooth vibes initially. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he's serious. That's my initial thoughts on him.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So
Smooth, trying to be smooth, and I don't know if he's serious.
it was very fast. Like in their first day, he was already saying he can see himself proposing. And so I was like, okay.
That's where I'm like,
Who
is
else
he
have you
just
been spoken to? Is she your first date? What's going
and
on?
this okay, so to be fair, I wrote this if this is their first date, he's trying to be way too smooth. If this is
Mm-hmm.
their second date, then maybe we just didn't see the build up. But from
Okay.
what we saw, it's just giving way too smooth. You're saying too much, doing too much out of the gate.
Okay. Well, he
Mhm.
says, he built his business and bought his house very young. He talks a lot about family and wanting children and specifically wanting to care for a wife, which I thought was like if I were in the pods, that's something you'd probably want to hear. Um, like not someone just saying, "Oh, I want to get married and I want to have kids," but the intentionality behind caring for a wife, I thought would be good.
Mhm.
And then he talked about how some of his family lives in Ukraine and the other part in Russia, and they're kind of because torn apart because of war. So we got
Mhm.
to see a little bit of background on him, and we know
Mhm.
that he's very family oriented. That seemed
Mhm.
real to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
it was on their second date. They
Hmm.
were vibing pretty well.
Yeah.
And then he says, like, oh, but I need more clarity. And I wanted him to say, like, on what?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, obviously, it's moving fast, but
Yeah, like on the first day he was calling her baby. I'm like, how long was this date for you to be calling her baby already? Which
I
could
think,
feel very love bomby.
and even for her, um, I don't know. And maybe this is just how she is, but even for her, I'm getting like, okay, are you really vibing and connecting with him, or do you just
Just
want
flattered.
right? Like he's saying all the right things, so you're going along with it. I don't know. It's a lot of oh baby. I don't know.
Okay. So let's see. The next day they talk about both working at McDonald's for their first job. They both started learning English at 8. At this point, I'm like, okay, he's definitely locked in on her. I wish we would have seen what his other dates went like because maybe it was just that the other dates were so awful that she was standing out. But she says that she's feeling really comfortable with him. She's vulnerable. She says she loves him first, which the
Hmm.
Ally that we met initially, who talked about having this tough shell, you could tell it was a difference for her to be so vulnerable and just like take that step. And then he proposed. And so I was like, wait, what? All
You
right.
you needed more clarity on what we don't know. Proposal.
Yeah, no, more clarity on what we don't know. She loves you.
Oh yeah,
Proposed.
she loves you.
So we
And
don't
you know
really
how
get.
we feel about these people saying I love you so much. Like,
And so soon, like I don't know, maybe it was the editors. Like maybe this took
but
longer.
I don't know based off how their reveal went. I don't know. So
Wait, what don't you do? First of all, I thought he should have kept the glasses for his reveal. Like he was so adorable with the glasses on. No?
for
Just
me, the glasses on or off, fine. Not on your head.
Oh, he had them on his head?
Yes. Let's not get there because that's episode 2. The reveal
Okay, so
happens
so episode 1 ends with them
just looking at each other.
like starting. Yeah. So
Hmm.
I think they're both good looking people and I think they might be physically attracted to each other and yeah, yeah,
I'm
as
gonna
as
save my
another
thoughts
woman.
on the reveal for episode 2.
Okay, well, as a woman, I thought, okay, maybe she will get the opportunity to lean into how soft she wants to be, and so I want to be hopeful for her at the end of episode 1.
Okay.
All right, Calabria and Edmund.
Hmm.
So, what are your thoughts on this? Well, these
This.
individuals. Let's do individuals before couple. Okay.
Yeah, so Calabria, I'm enjoying her energy so far. She's bubbly, seems very open. As far as Edmund, he is very, I don't know, eclectic in his style.
Hmm.
He's very high energy. And I initially think like, oh, it's going to maybe take a unique person to maybe understand and accept that level of energy
Hmm.
and maybe not be overwhelmed by it. Um, yeah,
Okay.
those are my initial thoughts on those two.
I say he's giving Urkel vibes a little bit for me. And I wasn't sure if it was an act or if he really was. But we don't see their first date. We see their second date. And so at this point, it seems like they're already interested in each other.
Oh yeah, because she's like, oh, she's already feeling
My
the spark.
love. Yeah. She's calling him my love. And all right. So on this date, she talks about being a 50-50 woman. Like she's not a 50-50. She doesn't mind being the breadwinner.
Mm.
I I think that dynamic can work as long as both people are invested in that long term. I
Mm.
think she's already putting together how he fits into her life, like his career and his background, his knowledge, whatever. She's like, oh, that could work with me because I want to start this type of a business and whatever you're bringing to the table, um, she thinks could benefit her future business plans. And so she's talking like a breadwinner, in my opinion. And so
Uh,
I don't know about
and
these.
with her, I got a little bit of contradiction as well. Because she says like, oh, I can be traditional and non-traditional, and I'm not saying that there can't be different seasons of different things, but the way that she was talking was giving very much maybe non-traditional.
Mhm.
And then later on in their dates, she was emphasizing like, oh, I want to have someone I can lean on, someone to be strong, kind of insinuating that she's looking for that masculine energy. And so I don't want to try and put people into a box, but I
Mhm.
think some of the things she was saying and describing, I think, and how he would fit into her life, I don't know if it gave all that much flexibility, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to be open to this dynamic, you know, just because I know that different dynamics work. So not like there's not every case where the man is the breadwinner and the woman is, whatever role that she
Mm-mm.
fits in. So I'm trying my best to be open to this dynamic. I think what she was trying to say was, oh, I can be the financial leader, right? But everybody needs a soft place to land. And so like
Mm.
if I were to break down, I need to make sure that there's like an emotional support system that exists for me and I'm not having to like carry everything,
Mm.
Like and I think for any breadwinner that would be the case, right? Like you're
Mm.
not a robot. You can't just carry a load and then not have like a space to emotionally connect or emotionally decompress. So that's what I thought she was saying.
Also for them, maybe because we didn't see their first date,
Hmm.
or I don't know how we would describe it. The first date that we saw them together,
Hmm.
they do talk a little bit about how he's into skating, loves to travel. They both played college sports.
Sports. Yeah.
Um, and so, they're sharing some about their lives currently, but then I think we quickly jump to his story, or it seems quickly for us, where he shares how he's grew up in foster care and just the back and forth dynamics of his family, of
Hmm.
being with them, not being with them. And I kind of see this dynamic of it kind of being more of a therapy kind of session than a date, because I personally felt like that was a lot to lay out in such an expressive way. But for her, she didn't seem to mind. And maybe that's because of her social work background. And yeah.
You know what I hope they don't become? I don't know that I have much hope for them as a couple, but they started to remind me of that couple on Maths San Diego. The black Alexis
Oh,
and
and
Tree.
Tim.
What was
Oh,
his name?
oh, Tree.
Yeah, the
Oh, yeah,
tall
yeah,
black
yeah, yeah,
skinny
yeah,
guy.
yeah. Justin.
Justin.
Yeah.
That's who they started to remind me. That's where I could see this going. But also like with her, being such a leader, like, okay, well, it's this dynamic is only going to work if he's willing to defer to her on several things. And, I hope down the line it doesn't become a thing of him being intimidated by that or anything. I just don't know. I want to be open to what's going on here, but I don't know that I have.
I think she is comfortable and okay with him expressing his emotions
Mhm.
and laying out, everything that he's been through. She's giving him the space. Um, I don't know. I think it was a lot very soon for a first or second date. But she seems to be okay with it. So,
And we don't know how long their first date was. So,
yeah.
okay.
Mm.
All right. So, last couple, that's Joe, 27, who is the recruiter, and Madison, 26, who is a UI or UX designer.
Hmm. So for these two, I don't have much on this
Me
first
neither.
episode other than he shares, Joe shares that he's been engaged before. And I don't know, I just get kind of obnoxious energy from their date. Uh,
Really?
hmm I get
Okay.
obnoxious energy and their age gap, because I think she's 30 what?
She's 26
Oh, she's 26.
and
Oops.
he's 27.
Oops. Never mind.
Oh, that's
Scratch
odd.
that.
Yeah. No, okay. So she's 28 and he is
27.
29. Ooh.
Oh,
Okay, so maybe when they're posting them on Instagram, it's their ages now.
maybe because I was writing it down as they put it initially up on the screen. But nonetheless, the point I was going to make doesn't apply. But I stand by, I get obnoxious energy from these two, and
Mm.
I'm not seeing that they need to continue from the first interaction.
Wow. Okay. Well,
Hmm.
Allison Madison is the one who has a rare condition that
Hmm.
could possibly cause her to go blind, and she reveals this to the people in the lounge. So
Hmm.
not to him
Yeah.
yet, but we
Yeah.
know it's looming in the background. All
Okay.
right, episode 2, and then I think we
Or
can
we're
start to go faster
speed it up.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Alini and Anton. So they meet up and they seem to be pleased with each other physically. But you have other thoughts on that?
Yeah, so, they walk out. I'm already kind of annoyed by the glasses being on his head because he keeps squinting. And I'm like, if you need the glasses, put them
And
on.
he looks adorable with them on.
Yeah, it's fine. And so, initially I wrote that she looks a little scared. He immediately says, "Oh, you're so beautiful." He goes in to kiss her, and I don't know if it was the editing, but I'm assuming she turned her cheek and was
Yes.
like, "No, I'm good." So I'm going to try to not read too much into that because maybe she just doesn't feel comfortable kissing someone
Yeah.
she just laid eyes on. Fine. So then eventually they do a few little kisses. She says, "Oh, your hair, I love it." He seems to be really blown away by her
And
beauty,
she's beautiful.
and she's stunning. Yes, her. I don't know that she's attracted to him.
Really? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Should we remind people what they look like? I don't know.
Yeah, that's Aline, and
Aline.
yeah, Aline. And yeah, so I'm not getting that she's attracted to him, but I think she wants to be in love. She's
Thank
wiping.
you.
I'm giving you my first thoughts. I'm not seeing where she's in. She just says she's speechless. And I think for me also, so they get back, they sit down, they do their champagne, but him not turning around when he was walking away.
So that was something for me because he seemed very eager to go back to the champagne. I was was like, okay, that was a little weird. And so she's there waiting for him to turn back.
You're gonna say I'm reaching,
Okay.
but I think he was blown away by her. I think he could sense, especially once she dodged him for the initial kiss, that maybe there's some hesitation for her. And I think him not turning away, he may have been in his feelings about it just a little bit. Y'all can say I'm reaching. It's fine.
Okay. I'm not going to say you're reaching. What I will say is I'm curious about this couple, and I hate that we won't get to see them until episode, what, five, six, until the honeymoon,
Mm,
because we just did not get enough
I
with
think
them.
him not turning around said a lot.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Well, we'll see. Well, I guess we won't be talking about them until the next episode.
Mm-mm.
But let's go back to Joe and Madison. So we don't have much on them for the first date, but or for the first episode, but the second episode,
Hmm.
actually, also I don't have much.
I think in this episode, she shares with him, well, they talk about kids and how she has a bunch of cats. He doesn't seem to be thrilled with it, but I think it's something he could live with.
Mm,
Uh, I think she does share
share.
about her eye condition,
Yeah.
and he's taken aback, a bit shocked, wanted to know, like, is it for sure that you could go blind? He's just clearly trying to process it.
And
So,
I thought that was a normal reaction. Like he didn't
oh
try
yeah,
to, yeah, he didn't
I
try to,
appreciated him not jumping to, oh, it's fine, oh, it's
yeah.
okay.
Because
Mhm.
it is something to consider, right?
Yeah.
And I also appreciated her sharing it so early on to give him that chance. Like, okay, you can decide if you want to continue or not. I might have waited for one more date, but again, we don't know how many dates they've had, so it seems very early for us. Um, but yeah, he's just processing.
Did you pick on with them that there's like a lot of banter with them?
I felt like it's very playful. Like it's
Mm.
and this happens for me a lot with Love Is Mine, where I think people would be great dating, but because it's a show that's trying to fast track you to marriage, I don't always think that that
I
works.
think it's a fine line when you don't really know people like that. I think
Mhm.
I could see them pulling back just a little bit, get to know each other more, build that camaraderie so they know
Yes.
your heart. It was a bit much for me so soon, but they seem to be fine with it. So,
Hmm. Okay. So we get introduced to some new characters here.
did you want to finish them out all the way? And
Yeah, what else did you have on them?
because doesn't he propose in this episode?
Was it this one or was it the beginning of
Yeah, he writes her a love note. She says
Oh,
she's all
it's this one.
in. And
Okay,
yeah,
go
he
ahead.
proposed.
Sorry.
Yeah, he proposes to her. And at this point, I'm still, maybe we just didn't see enough of their dates, but I'm not seeing how this is just such a strong connection
For marriage.
for marriage just yet with these two.
It's a
She
very
says,
great boyfriend girlfriend connection.
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think. Okay,
So we're done with them.
so we're done with them.
Mhm.
All right, so now we get introduced to some new characters. We have Nick, who is 27 and he's a luxury watch dealer. And
Hmm.
he's talking to a couple of people. So first he starts talking to Kate, who is 31 and is a dietitian. I'll pull up their pictures while you give your first impressions.
Okay, so Nick, the luxury watch dealer. I don't know.
Mhm.
I get kind of cheesy, corny vibes from him, but his dates don't seem to mind it. And then he's connected with Kate, who's your registered dietitian. Once again, from the gate, we find out that she was in an 8-year relationship, engaged, and he cheated on her right after her mom died.
Mhm.
Y'all, please stop sharing all this so soon, please. Um,
I felt kind of annoyed by Nick already. He reminded me of a mixture between Nick in season in DC, who
okay.
scrawny, who ended up with Mean Hannah,
Mm-hmm.
and Leo from
He was the
whatever
art dealer.
art dealer. So he was a mixture of those two to me, and I think he just came off very immature.
I got unserious from him.
Yeah.
Nothing about him gave this man is actually going to be getting married.
Yeah, the initial my initial reaction was not a positive one.
Yeah.
And he kept saying everyone's his number one, and I'm like, you don't have to do that. What?
Everyone is his number one. And I understand keeping your options open so soon, but he keeps this everyone's my number one energy going on for way too long. And I get he's playing games, but I'm jumping ahead. So sorry.
Yeah, and I just felt he was very attention seeking. Like in his date with Kate, he talked about how when they're, I guess, going skiing or snowboarding, whatever, and they're like people are on the chairlift. He says, "Oh
Hmm.
yeah, I make martinis on the chairlift, and people are like taking videos of me and posting it online and stuff." And I just got that he was attention seeking.
And then the way he describes his connection, so I don't think I said much about Annie just yet, but he describes that he has a great connection with Kate.
Mhm.
She's what he's been looking for, but then says Annie is his wild card and doesn't know exactly how she would fit, but with her, it's like an intense flame.
And then at the end of his date with Kate, she says something like, "Oh, I'm just not seeing anything wrong with Nick." I said, "Girl, there is plenty going on here. I don't want to say plenty wrong, but there's a lot going on that you need to pay attention to
But
for marriage if the
the
show
way
is
that she describes him, though, he's so sincere and consistent. So, what is it that they're seeing?
that we're not." But of course, we're seeing him do this with multiple dates. Like he's playing the game. So we have that little bit of info that they don't.
Game is the key word because
Mhm.
that's what I'm feeling with him.
Yeah. Both of his connections are older than him. So that's something. Kate, I would just watch that age difference. At 27 and he feels like a young 27 to me, I would just be mindful.
And then something that Annie said, where I was like,
Hmm.
okay, do you just
Let me
want
show
to,
Annie.
yeah,
Oh,
be
wait, I already
married?
did, right?
Yeah, you did. I'm just
No, that
finally
was
getting to
Anna.
her. Oh, that was Anna. Oh, okay.
So they
Annie.
have similar names and similar careers. So Anna is Asian,
Hmm.
Annie is Caucasian.
Correct. So she says that she wants to be engaged in a week. I want to be married, and that she's so excited. And I'm thinking, okay, you just want to be married, or is it that you're really feeling it with Nick?
I agree. I agree. I said she is very focused on a marriage, and I think she's here to be serious and find that. Nick, of course, on the other hand, I don't find to be very serious, but Annie already needs some reassurance. And so it's just like, again, I feel like we're thrown into maybe date two or three because
Yes, because
I'm,
they're already talking about sex and what she's done. That was another thing too. The question that he asked her, I don't know.
he is very sexual. Like he keeps throughout the four episodes that we're reviewing today, bringing up sexual things.
Yes. But nonetheless, Annie, the
Hmm.
salon owner, she also has a connection with Brendan, unless you have anything else you want to say about
Nope.
her independently. Okay, so she says her number one connection at this point. Once again, we have a situation where, we have multiple connections where someone else's connection is somebody
Hmm.
number one
Hmm.
is a different person. And so Brendan, I get very laid back, nonchalant energy from him.
Nonchalant. Okay.
And I get that he's there, he's chilling. If he gets something from it, he gets it. If not, he
Mm.
enjoyed the process.
That's funny. When it comes to Annie, I thought he seemed very sure about her.
I mm, I got he was there. I mean,
So, okay.
okay.
That's interesting. So I also got very laid back, which is a contrast to Nick. And
Hmm.
he was talking with Annie about a future, at least as far as this episode goes. He's talking with Annie about a future, and I think he mentioned that she's his number one. And at this point, he's her number one. And
Hmm.
so I felt like this was one time where, okay, the couple is aligned. Of course, it changes later on, the number one situation, but at least with this episode, our first time seeing them, they seemed aligned with being each other's number one. And I could understand why he was her number one because he gave a more serious energy,
He did
like
get
a
more
less playful.
serious.
Yeah.
I would say I got serious, but I didn't get that he would actually move forward and like propose
Hmm.
within this.
Okay.
I just didn't
Fair.
get that from him. But they are each other's number one, which I
Mhm.
think is more secure for her than with Nick, because obviously he has the connection with Kate. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And now we're back to Ed and Calabria. Calabria.
Calabria.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. So,
So
mhm.
go ahead. We
No, you go. You
we
seem
get this
passionate about this.
we get this very strange portion of him licking the floor in the
And,
men's lounge, and
and Brendan's
everyone
like, Ed, what are you doing? And he's like, what the?
weird, very weird. And so I didn't watch their casting videos, but I found out after the fact
Mhm.
that he also admitted to liking to eat his boogers. So this is where I'm getting this guy is on here for a show. He's not
Mhm.
serious.
Mm.
He's on here to play around, play games, be a character.
Because a character is right. Because I am accepting of quirkiness.
Mm-hmm.
If you know, like I, I'm nobody to talk, but I just felt like it was a little overdone.
He's on here for a show. I really wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but between him doing high knees, toe touches, and licking the floor, and then I later find out he eats his own boogers and admitted it on camera, it's on here for a show or character. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But I think when it comes to his dates with Calabria, he says some of the right things. And I think with his story, because you can't divorce somebody from their story. I think it's just the right amount of seriousness to attract someone who is so interested in falling in love.
Do you think that sometimes them sharing these maybe and I get a part of this process, you're sharing about your life story. But
Mhm.
do you think that part of that is also maybe for some people to let their guard down and disarm them from being critical of other things that they're doing and saying?
I think it's possible. Of course, I don't want to say that with 100% certainty because you
Oh yeah.
still don't know how these things can affect people. But
Hmm.
I mean, it's either a strategy or it's genuine.
Yeah, we shall see.
Yeah. So in this particular episode, they talked about how he was so able and willing to forgive his parents, especially his mother, given that he was in and out of foster care, separated from his siblings several times. And but he said he has a decent relationship with his mom. And she talked about how that's somewhere she wants to get with her father because she does not have a good relationship with her father who was absent. And she has had to be so strong because of that absence. I,
Hmm.
I just I almost want different for Calabria, but you can't project what you want for somebody onto them. Like so if she's saying she's okay with being, breadwinner and all this stuff, I'm all for it. But I also wonder if that's just her knee-jerk reaction. I wonder if she's playing into like being strong again because she has had to.
Well, she says like, "Oh, I can be an alpha woman, but I also
Mhm.
need a man who can be alpha too."
And Ed is just not like I'm sure he's gifted and another thing when they first met he said he had recently gotten into real estate and I'm like how recent though because are you is
Selling
your
houses.
career
Yeah.
profitable at this point or not like you went from property manager to oh I want to be in real estate I'm passionate about it how successful are you in real estate at this point
And then he said like, "Oh, and then maybe I would want to be a teacher to give back." He talks
which
about,
gave hmm
so it can maybe give a little instability, but I think for her it's not seen as big of a deal because for her she's like, "I'm going to make my money and take care of myself anyways." But then on the flip side, if you're also saying, oh, I need someone who can be secure, stable, a place where I can land, then
Yeah.
you do need someone who is stable and essentially able to quote unquote keep up as well.
Hmm.
So I get a lot of all over the place.
From him. And he
Yeah.
specifically said a substitute teacher. So, I get that. You don't, if he has a flexible schedule. I was trying to figure out how this would work. He has a flexible schedule as a realtor and would want to, you know, go into a school at certain points and have an impact. Maybe that's what he's thinking. But yeah, she seems to have it so together career wise. And there is a big question mark for me with him on his career.
Oh, yeah, she says she doesn't want to be tough anymore. Well,
But you don't want to be tough anymore, but in your first date with this person, you're like, oh, I don't mind being,
hmm
and so I just want different for her.
I
Anyway,
agree. Well,
yeah. All
all
right,
right.
let's go back to the Sparkle, Megan, Jordan, Mike, and Blake situation. So
Okay.
when she has a date with Jordan, and I say I wish she wasn't still talking to him since we know they're not fully a match. And so I don't know if this is going to be a case where I'm proven wrong and her giving him more time is what does it for them, or if it's a thing where so much is being overlooked that they've talked themselves into, hey, this is going to work. But they're still talking to each other. She says she has fun with him and he brings out her inner child.
I get that this is giving a really good friend vibe. I think
Mhm.
she's continuing on to see if there's something. She doesn't
Romance.
want to throw in the towel too soon
Hmm.
because he is different, maybe, than what she would usually go for.
Hmm.
And maybe part of her is feeling like, oh, I want to give this experiment its fullest try by
Hmm.
not cutting things off too soon. But even at this point, I don't think she should continue with Jordan.
Yeah. Okay. That was really all I have on there for
Mhm.
them. With Mike, she says she likes his age. He said something about, oh, I don't sleep with white noise on because, as a man in the night, I want to make sure if anything happens, I can jump up and do what I need to do. And she really loves that. She loves the security that it gives. I don't know. Something about Mike is off to me. I don't know if it's the arrogance or the like it just feels like he listens to certain male podcasts.
Oh,
Yeah, I
well,
the
is
toxic
it
one.
that wouldn't be far fetched. I think it was in this episode where he shared that, or maybe it was the previous one. Oh, like me and a bunch of my wealthy friends are a part of this collective, and maybe
Hmm.
they were talking about something about nutrition. But yeah, he knows his selling point with her is security. I'm
Hmm.
the man. I could be the one that when you want to rest, I'm there. And so I think that's what he's just leaning into the most,
Playing
and it's
on.
appealing to her.
Yeah, I think it was another episode, but where he talks about like the importance of health, and he says something about, oh yeah, we're gonna have the hottest kids and they're gonna be the sexiest kids, and I'm like,
Is that how you
they're,
describe
first of
kids?
all, they're not even here yet. But if they were, they're babies. What is wrong with you?
And God forbid, like, they're born unique. Like, see, people talk like, okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm just not feeling Mike. All right, and then Megan and Blake. So she says that she feels like he's reassuring, like he's sure about her, and there's no second guessing. And I'm like, yeah, that's the type of man you
Mm-hmm.
would probably want to go for. They talked about travel a lot, but I noticed that she was mostly talking and he was listening. I
Mm-hmm.
don't
Was
think
this
that's
the
a
one
bad thing, but
where she was like, oh, yeah, I have this wedding in Lake Como? And he was just like, oh, yeah. And yeah, she was
yeah, he
just,
was just saying, yeah. I
yeah.
just, I was like, I mean, that's a valid dynamic where one person's talking and the other person is listening, but I just don't, at this point, I wasn't sure.
And then what was interesting to me, mainly because he's an accountant, and I was like, oh, I wonder if this would be off-putting to him, but it wasn't. But what she
Hmm.
talks about, and they spent 400,000 on a venue. She
Hmm.
always brings money into the equation,
Because it's
and
her
so
personality.
I just wonder what would that look like in his life, you know?
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
All right,
Okay.
and then for the first time, we see Blake and Anna have a connection.
Mhm.
I said, I don't like that we're just seeing this one.
Yeah, and I think he said that Anna was his top connection, who he feels
Yes.
the most comfortable with. So even though he's Megan's top connection, according to her,
Hmm.
Anna is his number one connection.
And
And
I'm
I
like,
think
I would have loved to see their earlier dates to see what sparked that initial bond.
I will say I like Anna's personality, and so I can see, I
Her
don't
being
know.
an
Yeah,
attractive.
right. I get more couple vibes from their dates than I get from his dates with Megan.
Hmm.
So they do the camping date, the conversation turns a little spicy. I say that I like their vibe together. She has a lot of fun with him. And she also says that he's genuine. And I think
Hmm.
that's what Megan is also picking up
Yeah.
about him as well. But then, well, you can go ahead and say your part and then we could talk about.
Anna and Patrick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but
Yeah.
she said she's torn with Patrick.
Yeah. Okay. So it's confusing. So Anna and Patrick kind of talk about where they're from at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so she tells him, "Well, my parents don't know why I'm here." And then that goes into where they're from. He says he's half Chinese, half Cambodian
With a Japanese stepdaddy.
with a Japanese stepdad, and that's why he has the last name Suzuki. And
Mm-hmm.
then when she says she's Chinese, he goes, "Oh, that's really hot." And she goes, "Is it?" And I also had the same reaction because I'm like, "Is it because you've never dated?"
I think for him being an Asian man, and this is my assumption from outside the community, maybe he just has not gotten any interest from other Chinese women. So for him, I took it as like, oh, he's pleasantly surprised that she's continued this far in the process with him.
Okay, that's not what
Maybe
I
I
thought.
wouldn't describe it as hot, but more so
Yeah.
like he's happy about maybe her being Asian in that moment or Chinese in that moment.
I thought it was just a filler. I thought he had to
Mm.
have a reaction. And so that was it. Because it mirrored language that she said earlier. So she was the one who was
Mm.
talking about things that were hot earlier when they were discussing other things. And so I thought he was just like, oh, he just needed something to say in that moment to fill it. I don't
Mhm.
think he had in that moment fully processed, okay, well, what would it mean
Mhm.
to, be dating someone who comes from a similar cultural background, whatever. Um,
Also,
yeah.
I could agree with him not processing it yet because I felt like later on she was trying
Mhm.
to convince him, like, hey, this could work. It could be a good thing. Yeah, we wouldn't usually be each other's types and for whatever, all the reasons, but this could work. We get each other. And I'm thinking, girl, it shouldn't take all that to convince
She
it.
was so sure that they were a match. I said, okay, Savannah, slow down. Because she was so sure they were a match, but you could sense the hesitancy from him. Like, it was so loud. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
I'm like,
she got it too because she said, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that." And was this the one that
mhm.
where she was like, "You better not hurt me, dude"? Was that
Yeah.
this one? Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah,
I
I
think
thought it was
she
a
was excited about what this could mean for them. Like they would just
yeah.
get it, the comfort that comes with being with someone of a similar background.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. So I hated that moment for her. And I think this was where she started to second guess herself.
hmm,
But moving on to Patrick's other connection, which I think he likes more.
I agree.
Yeah. Interestingly, Casey, his other connection, starts to talk about how important attraction is. And I think this started to tell us everything we knew. She's like, "Oh yeah, so my dad was saying, I don't know what you're gonna do. Like he just doesn't get while I'm here because he's so attracted to my stepmom." And she just kind of lets it hang.
And isn't this where she shares how she ended up meeting someone and dating them? just based off how they looked on Instagram or TikTok or something.
But it was also the timing of it, right?
Yeah.
So she says the attraction thing. My dad and my stepmom are so attracted to each other. He's very hesitant to talk about his ethnic background because and he says this to her, I don't want to be judged for it. But it seems like she really wants to hear some of what he looks like.
And she already put it out there that she is a white girl, so she wanted him to know. She wants to throw off the whole system. She
Yeah,
just,
which I think her being a white girl is probably attractive to him as someone who hasn't dated
mm,
non-white girls in the past, right?
mm-hmm.
And so I think he shared a little bit about his ethnic background. I think did he share fully? He said half Chinese, half Cambodian to her as well, right? And then I
Mm,
felt like her reaction was definitely like she was turned off by it.
I agree. Even
Okay. I'm like, am I reading into that?
I think once she, for me, I don't know. I didn't like the way she handled this
No.
because he clearly was hesitant, and she
Hmm.
asked, oh, do you want to share it with me? He clearly didn't want to. She says she really wants to know. I said, girl, this is Love is Blind. And he finally says he's South Asian. He doesn't say exactly what, he just says he's South Asian. And she
Mm,
says, oh, she hasn't dated an Asian before. I say that she's masking her disappointment.
not well. Because I read it all. Like, yeah, she's definitely,
Hmm.
even if she's accepting of people with different backgrounds. Like she talked about, oh yeah, my family, my brothers only date Asian women, and someone in her family is married to someone else who's half black. Yeah, they might have that, but that doesn't mean you do. You know, like all of my siblings could be married to people outside of their race. I could still have the desire to marry within my race. Like just because your siblings do it, that doesn't mean you want to do it. And so I think she brought those things up to try to reassure him, but I wasn't reassured. And then after that was when she talked about how she pursued somebody just by seeing what he looked like on TikTok.
Casey, I want to be positive about you, but I'm getting discouraged at this point. And I won't say exactly why because I think we need to get to it in the next episode, but something you shared later confirmed when I what I was feeling when you were trying to mask your disappointment
Okay, so
in
let's
this
then go
episode.
to
Hmm.
episode 3, or do we want to do the Joe and Madison?
Well,
No, that's episode 3.
let's end this by saying, Patrick in his final follow up, I think he was going to go into a pod date very confident, I think, saying that Anna was his number one and she
Hmm.
wasn't there.
Okay, I have
Yeah.
that at the beginning of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. So that's where episode 2 leaves off. Patrick goes
Hmm.
into the pods and he's like, hello, hello. And they did him dirty because y'all could have told him she wasn't going to be in there. They just let him find out he's like out of the pods trying to talk to the producers, like, hey, I don't think anybody's in there. And we find out that Anna doesn't show up for her date.
Yeah.
And the last thing we see of her, besides the dates with Patrick, is her talking to the girls in the pods and saying about how she's like almost doubting herself, being in the midst of all these women who maybe don't look like her. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think her being so confident about Patrick and him not reciprocating was a blow to her ego.
But what was so crazy is I felt like he went into that next pod date like she's my number one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ah,
After that date with Casey,
mm-hmm.
I think Anna was his number one once he got a whiff of, oh, she's clearly
Not feeling me.
disappointed that I'm, what I am. Even though she claimed she could, she'd be fine with it. I think he went into that pod like, oh, Anna will be my number one, but she just wasn't there.
Yeah.
So,
So Anna doesn't show up. And then Blake later on has a date with her, and the producer comes in and says to him, Anna decided to leave the experiment.
and just really quickly,
Hmm.
in Anna's previous date with Blake, they had a conversation about ghosting where she describes how she kind of ghosted someone, but not really, only for her to ghost both of them. We don't know why fully at this point.
Yeah, it felt like self-sabotage. And I don't know if she'll be at the pod link ups, with everybody else either. So we might never know unless they bring her to reunion. But yeah, so Anna completely leaves the experiment, leaves two guys hanging. And it seemed like Blake was really into her
Mm-hmm.
too.
Mm-hmm.
So she had two really good options. But okay, let's move on to some of the other people.
Mm-hmm.
So Sparkle Megan and Mike.
Okay.
So their first day of this episode, he asked about her exes.
Mm-hmm.
And so they talk about exes, and she says that there's one that she follows. He doesn't seem to be very fond of interactions with exes, from what I gather.
Well, he shares that he still messes around with a friend who used to be an ex,
But he
but
shares
she
that
not,
with the men.
oh yeah, with the men, but not with her.
Hmm.
So playing games.
Yeah, with the men, he says, yeah, like she has a boyfriend now, but she still comes over to my place and we sit in the sauna for hours together. Why does that even need to be brought up? But then in the pods with Megan, she's like, "Oh yeah, I actually follow one of my exes. Like we just didn't break up for any reason. But we still follow each other." All right. Anyway, this was when he starts talking about how their kids are going to be so healthy.
Also, oh, you can go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, maybe it was their second date.
Hmm.
I think this is where he's putting two and two together that her other connection is Jordan.
Hmm.
I think at this point, he says, "Oh, you're dating two guys. That's trouble." She lets him know that you remind me of my exes. We're each other's type. He says,
Hmm.
"I'm not like them." And he reiterates how they could be a power couple. You know how I'm just like, oh, here we go with these power
Yeah.
couple
Yep. Yep. Yep.
vibes.
When he
So
said the whole, yeah, you're dating two guys that are trouble, I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, he's trouble and Jordan's trouble in what ways? Elaborate on that, but he doesn't. And so he expresses that he's very interested in her. And she said, well, I just need time. And
hmm
you could tell he was hurt by that. So he's like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
he's trying to not seem pressed about her connection with Jordan. And
Mm-hmm.
because he's seeing all the behind the scenes of him and he knows that, Megan loves, her material things, he's
Mm-hmm.
already like, I'm your man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the man you need. That other guy is not. So he can't come right out and say all that.
Yeah,
But he's trying to play it as cool as he can. But you could tell he feels a way about it.
he does. So let's talk about Jordan and Sparkle Megan. They talk a bit more about the vasectomy and about her
hmm
wanting kids. So she said at the beginning of this that she was probably going to have the friend conversation with him. Like, oh, I think we could be very good friends, but I don't see the romantic pull. But she gets there and she doesn't have the conversation because I guess the conversation they ended up having was so much better and she starts to see him in a new light and it starts to change her mind. She said he surprised her that day and he said that he walked out of that conversation feeling like he was in love. So I'm like, what happened in that conversation that we didn't see?
And she reiterates in the conversation that she doesn't see how their lifestyles would match, but he's everything that she's looking for in a human. I feel like at this point, she's trying to force a connection there.
Mm-hmm.
If the
Absolutely.
lifestyles don't match, that could be enough.
It really could. It really could. And then I think in one of their last dates, he starts talking about what a perfect day for him would look like. And she says, oh, I'm getting teary eyed thinking about it. But there was, to me, nothing special about the perfect day that he described.
Also, what I've gotten from Jordan
Mm-hmm.
is he really ready for marriage? Because
Hmm.
and I'm not seriously questioning. I don't know these people in real
Mm-hmm.
life, but some of the things he's saying, he's like, I want to have a marriage, where we never argue. I know guys who've never talked bad about their wives and they've been married for 15 years and they don't argue. Well, one, you're not in their home, and two, you're not going to agree on everything. So I don't know that he's looking for a realistic relationship at this point. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think so either. And I think it's gonna definitely bite them in the behind later on. But surprise, surprise. Oh, go ahead.
Also, something he did that I didn't really care about and
Mhm.
made me question his sincerity with her is how, as soon as he gets back to the lounge, he can't wait to let the rest of the guys know about how Blake ghosted her.
So that's what I was about to get
Oh,
to because we
okay.
haven't talked about, yeah.
Her
So
with Blake.
she's trying to have a date with Blake, and come to find out, Blake has now left. Now, for
Hmm.
refresher, Anna, the hairstylist, was talking to Patrick and Blake. She starts lacking in confidence and she decides to leave the competition. Blake, which was her other strong connection, I guess is very torn up about this. Even though he has a connection with Sparkle Megan, he decides to leave the competition as well.
Because Anna was his number one. And you
Mm-hmm.
know what? I could get with him leaving. Now, maybe he could
Really?
have met with her to say, hey, this is why I'm leaving, just to have that
Mm-hmm.
final conversation. But I'm okay with people if their number one doesn't work out, I don't necessarily feel like they need to follow up with two and three just to see if they could progress through the process.
Fair.
And I would say at this point, I was getting just friendship vibes from him and Megan. I
Mm.
wasn't getting like, oh, this would be a romantic
Fair.
relationship. So
Yeah. All right. So that is what happened. All right. Joe and Madison, they end up doing their meetup.
thoughts.
I think his mind was blown, but not in a good way. I think she was I think she's beautiful, of course, but I think she was taller than he expected, and that somehow played a role. I think he whatever image he had in his head of her, she didn't match up to it, but I don't think that's because of anything on her part, like her being unattractive. I think
Hmm.
he just convinced himself of what she might look like, and then she was different from that, and he had to come to terms with it right there in front of her.
Yeah, he just kept saying, whoa, whoa. He was so shocked.
Mhm.
Very awkward.
Kept saying it's not what I expected.
And I feel for her. I think she took it as well as she could, but I was happy that she said, like, oh, you're a nervous boy, but you better figure it out. So this isn't going to work.
It's not. It's not. And I think she said, "Is there attraction?" He said, "Yeah, there's definitely attraction," which I think he's lying. There is an attraction. He mentioned height. He's not playing it off at all. At
Well,
the
she
end, he
wasn't
said
taller than him, was she? She
she was
was,
about his height.
she was about his height. Okay. And she had on heels. But maybe he was expecting something else, which is part of the problem. This is Love is
That's what I
Blind. You should
think.
be expecting nothing.
Yeah, I think he built up in his head what she would look like, and when she didn't look like that, he didn't know how to adjust. But there's nothing wrong with how she looks. But he said it came together at the end, which I don't agree with. And I don't think things are going to go well for them on the honeymoon. So that's
No,
sad.
even when she says, "Oh, admire your type," he says, "Oh, variety is good." I said, "Whew,
That variety is good. That is so funny.
okay."
All
Moving
right.
on.
Edmund and Calabria.
Okay.
At this point, I'm like, Edmund, he's quirky, but is he also childish? And I felt like he was being a bit immature. But this is the episode where she says these kind words to him. She like, writes him a letter and reads it out loud, and he proposes.
You notice in this season we get all these triangles of people not matching up in terms of who's their number one,
Mm-hmm.
but but we don't really get like special dates or gift exchanges as
Mm-hmm.
much. Because I wrote like, okay, she had a whole lot to say as far as like these endearing words, and then he's just like, okay, will you marry me? Hmm.
Yeah, there was
Mm,
a possibility of one later on, but it didn't happen.
yeah, that's true.
Okay, so yeah, that's it for them. There was a proposal in this episode. There's not much this episode. We have Annie and Nick.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
It's
so oh, actually Annie and Brendan.
yeah.
So she says she can see herself with him, and he said, yeah. So for me, this is where he started to give nonchalant. in the earlier episode, it was clear she's the only one he's interested in, whatever. But this is where, for me, the nonchalant attitude starts to come in. And she said to him, "You're not very reassuring."
Mhm. I said this man is not trying to get married.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
seriously. No.
And I think she has to consider that. Like she even said, "I feel like I'm leading the experiment for you."
He could
Hmm.
he could take it this way, that way.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. And then she meets up with Nick, and he's saying all the right things, giving the reassurance. And I, I think what makes Nick work for her is Brendan being nonchalant. Like, I think had
Mm.
Brendan not been so nonchalant and had he offered more reassurance, Nick wouldn't be able to have a hold on her.
I agree. It's the opposites. He's giving nothing, he's giving everything.
Hmm.
But y'all, I don't think that they're the right move because he's also laying it on thick with his other connection. And
Hey.
this is where I think Nick is playing games. He's
Hmm.
doing way too much with both of them
Yeah. He in this one tells her he loves her.
and would be willing to move.
And this is after giving Annie the reassurance that he's here for her and he can see things with her and all of that. But he tells Kate, "I love you."
Mm-hmm.
He says, "You're my person. Will you let me fight for you?" And I said, "So what's going on with Annie then?" Like, what?
Haven't felt like this before. And
Yeah.
then, he lets her know, oh, no need to reciprocate it. I don't want to pressure you.
Hmm.
So he's
I'll
playing
fight
games
for
with,
you.
yeah, he's playing games at this point. We already knew he was unserious.
Hmm.
This confirms it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we end this episode with Patrick and Casey. So remember last
Mm-hmm.
time they met was when they had the ethnicity conversation. At this point, Anna has left. His other connection has left.
Mm-hmm.
And in the pause, he's telling people, "Yeah, we just felt too similar." Which, okay,
You were
whatever.
about to propose, dude.
Well, we don't know that.
Well, I I think he went into that date with Anna as his solid number one.
I don't think so, but I
Okay.
think he was interested because of the ego being hurt by Casey, but I don't think
Mm-hmm.
he was going to propose to her.
Okay.
Yeah. So he and Casey, start talking. A lot of banter, just conversation around being hot and espresso martinis and how he's never had one. What's interesting here is I feel the tables turn.
Yeah, I
Like,
feel like there's this confidence he has now going into this date.
which is so interesting. Like, it's almost like she's not in the power seat anymore, and she's trying
Hmm.
to reassure him of why he should choose her.
Was this the date where she shares with him how her boyfriend told her to go on these reality dating shows?
I think it was the next one. This was the one where she
Okay.
talked about how she's afraid of his connections with other people.
Okay.
And I think he doesn't give much information about his other connections because then she
Mm-mm.
wouldn't have had that fear because she would know that his only other connection had left. But at this point it seems like, okay, he hasn't proposed to me yet. Maybe there's somebody else, and that seems to mess with her.
Mm. He also tells her that he was the one that cut off his other connections, which isn't true.
How you gonna lie that big of a lie? Like, this girl literally left the experiment.
We're going to watch it back.
Unless there were other connections that we didn't see, which at this point we didn't need to see them because there are too many triangles and all that going on. All right.
Yeah, and in this, at the end, he's questioning how much she really wants this.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, I said, well, you also aren't really reassuring to her. He just says, oh, I really like you. Okay.
Hmm. Yeah. So there's that, and there's more about them, but I'll save that for, I think it was in episode 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
So,
move on.
all right. So last episode, and we have Calabria and Edmund. They do the reveal.
A character. It's for
Through and through.
TV. It's
Through and
for
through.
TV.
Which sucks because she's very serious.
She's very serious.
Hmm. and willing to be
And
accepting
I
of
think his background is in story is what's anchoring her to him.
hmm
So
because she's a social worker, maybe.
maybe, yeah. But even
But
without that background, I think there's something, she's anchored to because she keeps saying, "Oh, I feel like I've known him for forever.
mm,
We're so close, we're so connected." I don't even think it's just a social work thing. I think there's something about him that's really like drawing her in. And I think
mm,
yeah, I think
okay.
it's partly his story. Yeah.
She also talks about how, she probably would have passed him on the street, but she's been able to talk to him and will give him, sometimes if you would have passed him on the street, it's okay to pass them up in this experiment too. Like, I understand.
So what I'll say is I think physically, like him without all the antics and his
He's
clothes,
attractive.
he's an attractive man, good
Mhm.
height, all the things, nice body, muscles, all so I think she is attracted to him. I think the way his style and the way he presents, I could understand why she would pass him because
If that is his style on the streets. Anyway, so yeah, they meet. He's very much into her body. He's
yeah. Oh
I don't
gosh.
want to
She's
repeat
like,
some of the things he said, but he seems pleased with how she looks.
oh yeah, he's definitely pleased with how she looks. Her lip gloss is all over him.
Over him.
She's like, my little sensitive baby. Then he starts to kind of like ugly cry and then goes in her shoulder. I said, not again. Please. Not again.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's it on that reveal. Let's get back to Nick and Kate. So remember, Nick said that he loved her. Now in this new episode, they start
Hmm.
talking about relationships and arguments in relationships, and he asked her feelings about like God, like in religion.
Religion. Hmm.
And she said, I would consider myself spiritual because certain things happened to her mom and just how she suffered before dying. And that her
Hmm.
brother said something like, how could there be a God if she's suffered this greatly, like several
Hmm.
tumors and how they kept coming up. Yeah, but he says he has a personal relationship with God. At that point, I knew this wasn't going to end well.
He specifically said a personal, quiet relationship with God. I said, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
You go to church? Do you just pray? Like, what does that mean? Because
It
for
means,
her,
yeah,
she doesn't go to church. She doesn't believe in any type of
deity.
yeah, deity or anything. She's spiritual. That seems the complete opposite of what you described.
Yeah. I knew it wasn't going to be a good match after that. She addressed not saying that she loved him back, and just said, hey, it'll come. It's something that I want to reciprocate. And then that date ends. Their next date, though, he tells her about how he's being pulled in two different directions.
He also says in a confessional, like, "Oh, people say I'm a player because of my lifestyle, but I'm actually ready to settle down." You're telling us everything we need to know, not because of your lifestyle, but because of the back and forth with these two women.
And people don't say that. You think that about yourself. And that's why you're saying it on national television. But yeah, so of course, when he says he's being pulled into two directions, she's like, you just said you loved me 2 days ago. And
Hmm.
he said, well, like I said that, but she's holding back, like you're holding back with me. She accuses him of love bombing her. Like you were just saying you love me because in the moment, he was like, yeah, in the moment I did feel that way. Love is not a moment. That's a direct quote from her. She said, love isn't a moment.
I agree. He's
And
playing
then,
around.
yeah, and then as if that wasn't awkward enough, then he asked her about religion again, like, oh, are you interested in, reconnecting with God or like revisiting a connection with God? And she said, no, like I've never been a religious person. I don't see that changing. And girl, he might as well have heard that she had 5 heads. He was so shocked.
She's like, "Didn't we have this conversation? I said what I said."
I don't know. This was a roller coaster of a date for me from
I personally think when he didn't get that first response back from her of "I love you too" or
Hmm.
"I'm all in too," he was going to come up with anything to break it off with her. It wouldn't matter
Really?
what it was. Yeah. I think
Mm.
he cast the net both with both women to see
Mhm.
if any one of either one of them would bite hard enough. Neither one of them did.
Mhm.
Like because Annie still has her connection with Brendan.
Mhm.
And so I think
If you
he
can call
didn't
it
get
that.
hmm?
I said, if you can call it that.
Right. I think for him, he was just trying to see which one would bite first so he could
Hmm.
progress forward.
Yeah.
That's all.
And it seems like Annie is biting. So she said she needed reassurance that day. She talked about trust issues that she had had in previous relationships, and so she just needed him to have a way of reassuring her. They also talked about religion. So she's Christian. I'm guessing they share the same faith because then they talked about if they would want to raise kids to be Christian. They talked about their responses if their kids were to come out as anything other than straight. And it seemed like they were aligned. Whatever discussion they had, it seemed like they were on the same page about that.
I think he was just keeping both options open
Hmm.
because he knew Annie had another connection. I don't think we've seen Kate with another person. Not to say she wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
but he already knew all this.
Yeah. So then he says he could see himself proposing to her, to Annie, and that he's going to fight for her, which is what he said to Kate already.
But
Um,
she's his number two, so
but after the date with Kate, he tells
hmm
Annie that he loves her. And then now she has to go break it off with Brendan, who's been giving her nothing.
yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyways.
All right. So Brendan and Annie, she goes in, and this is the date where she's going to break it up. And he asked, okay, well, what is it that we haven't talked about that you would want to hear from me? So now he's like trying to perk up a little
hmm
bit. Too little, too late, Brendan.
But still not enough in my opinion. It's
No, it wasn't. And she said, I need you to tell me what your life would be like. And he describes something that's very dreamy,
hmm
you know? Um, I don't know. It's just not practical. So I don't know that he had given much thought to how their
and
lives would look.
and she came in and said like we don't have enough serious conversations.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
she's also picking up on this, and I said neither one of these men are
Yeah,
the
just please
ideal
go
choice
ahead.
for you.
And
Yeah.
then their next date, she does go ahead and end it because he came in, I guess trying to salvage something,
hmm
but she doesn't stand for it. And she said, I don't know if I'm self-sabotaging or just choosing someone else because that's what, I want, but she ends things with him.
Yeah, but then he pops back up, doesn't he?
Yeah, which was a little crazy because I thought they weren't supposed to be seeing each other. So she goes in the room and he's there.
hmm
I don't
Says
know
he
what
could
that
give
was.
her the life she wants and
Hmm.
ask her to think twice about her decision.
Because he knows who she's talking to.
hmm
And he
That's
says, I'm the
but see,
man.
that's the thing. It shouldn't be that now you have the energy now that you know who you're up against and what her other choice could be. You should
Hmm.
just do it anyways.
Yeah.
These people just want to progress in the process and use this as a game.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. All right. So that's that for them. And then the last few couples. So we have Casey and Patrick,
like,
and then we have the Megan triangle. Mhm.
yeah. So with Casey and Patrick, this is where she shares that her ex was the one who encouraged her to go
Mhm.
on the reality dating shows and how it could change her life.
This was odd.
Um, Yeah, very odd. She admits, because first she talks about the first show and was like, no, I didn't go on. And then he follows up and says, well, what about with this one? She's like, yeah, he did encourage me to go on it.
So for people who may or may not be watching this or might have missed it, her ex would encourage her to go on dating shows because it could be an opportunity for her, I guess, to get a
hmm
platform and all those things. And he would say like, "I'll be here waiting for you when you come back." And so
Yes.
apparently there was one show that approached her, and he encouraged her to go on, but she ended up not. And so now that she's on this show, Patrick's like, okay, are you still in touch with him? Like, what's going on? And so she said, yeah, he encouraged me to go on this one. Why are you still talking to this man? He's your ex, and you're coming on this show to be married to someone else. And Patrick's like, that's a boundary you're going to have to set. Like, that's a hard boundary that you're going to have to set. And rightfully so. Like, girl, what the heck? She's like, oh, I can block him and whatever you say. No, I shouldn't have to say it. If you're coming on a dating show,
And then
everything.
she says something, I don't know that I wrote it down exactly, but just saying how like, oh, he's gonna be so shocked like when he sees or hears about this. So this is where I'm like, okay, Casey, why are you here?
Unserious. She's here to grow a platform. She's already told us. See, people tell on themselves. She's
Then she
already.
goes into all this sex talk that to
So
distract him.
she like loses him with the ex situation because nobody wants to be in anything toxic. He said, I got rid of everything. All my loose ends are tied up before I came here. And so now she realizes that she's losing him. And the way I guess that she wants to reel him back in is through sexual conversation. It doesn't seem like he's budging, but now she's all like, oh, I'm generous and I want to be everything that you need. I want to be with someone who's deserving of all that I am and all of that.
And he proposes.
And he proposes. I'm like, okay, these people, there is not one couple that is going to say yes at that altar.
Mm-mm.
Unless
No.
unless Allie and Anton are the real deal, which we don't know nothing about them. So who
Yeah, we
knows?
don't know. Okay.
All right. So yeah, let's end with Sparkle Megan.
Yeah, Megan and Mike.
Yeah, he comes in and makes a little joke about how her and Jordan are perfect. And we know he's not joking. We know his feelings are hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of conversations about being physical. She talks about how in college she was her brokest and she was happy. And that's when she brings up the near billionaire ex, and his way of showing up was gifts, where she just wanted time with him. And she goes into describing some of her other relationships and why they haven't been satisfactory.
Yeah. From this, he walks away feeling like, oh, I'm the better choice,
Mm-hmm.
clearly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and then Megan and Jordan,
Yeah. So they
he,
talk about tattoos here, and he's like, "Oh," she's like, "Do you have any tattoos?" And he's like, "I have a couple small ones." Oh wow, this man's whole body is marked up. What did Lil Wayne say? Body marked up like a subway in Harlem. That's
and the
Jordan.
fact that he didn't share truthfully with her when she's gone out of her way to let him know I've had tattoos removed.
Another
Mm-mm.
disconnect. So she had two tattoos, one that she got at 14, one at 16. I said, who was out here marking up a minor?
Tall people. Anywho.
And her like mom had to go with her to get them removed. So she has hers removed, and then he has like sleeves of tattoos, right? Um, she talks about how she probably wouldn't have given him the time of day before, but now he like makes her
Again.
smile and she feels happy, right? And he said, honestly, after the first day, I thought about not dating somebody who went by Sparkle Megan, a grown woman who calls herself Sparkle Megan. But at this point, they've talked about the vasectomy, and she's like, oh, essentially, if it's meant for me to have kids, I'll have kids. But she's kind of leaning into being a stepmom to Luca and talks about how her experience helping her dad with his diabetes. Like, what if she is meant to be in Luca's life so that she can be an assistant in that way? And then she talked about something about, yeah, like being a mom to Luca. First of all, Luca has a mom.
And when she said something about like, what about him being with us full time? Excuse me?
He's not your child. You gotta chill.
It's giving Megan would want to come into Jordan and Luca's life and be like a savior.
Taking
I'm
over.
I'm fixing everything. Y'all are good because of me.
Which might be why she's successful in her career, like a very take charge person. But these people's family. This is this woman's child that she has birthed and raised. Don't do that. Be careful. And he says, of course, his mom would have to be involved in that decision.
Yeah, but he told her, I have zero expectations of you with my son.
Yes,
I'm glad he
except to
laid
love
that
him. Hmm.
Yeah, just to love him and that's it. She already trying to take over the scene.
Yeah. So
Mm.
yeah. That's
Mm.
it. I We have 2 more episodes to go. Hopefully they don't drag
Yeah.
on. But Love is
Yeah.
Blind, please, 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 US, stop releasing 6 episodes at once. We don't have the time for it. We don't have the time. Sorry.
Especially when these are the couples. Anywho.
Give us something to work with. And this is the editing. Seeing people on their second dates and not knowing why they connected in the first place. Whack banter. Like, no, this isn't it. This is a step up from Minnesota, but not by much.
Agreed.
All right. Well, we'll
Mhm.
see y'all on the next one. All right. Let us know in the comments your agreements, your
Yep.
disagreements, and we'll be back probably in the next few days with the
Yes,
last two
yeah.
episodes. All right. Bye.
Bye.